If you've ever watched a war movie like Forrest Gump or Die Hard 4, you've probably heard Fortunate Son blasting in the background while the choppers enter the war zone.
But what they don't prepare you for is the incessant use of Fortunate Son.
With its high-energy guitar riffs and powerful vocals, many people might mistake it for a patriotic anthem. In fact, the song was even used during one of Donald Trump's campaign rallies. But if you know what it's really about, you will realise that such use is rather ironic. Fortunate Son isn't about waving the flag and cheering on the troops. It's a protest song, a fierce critique of how the Vietnam War was handled and the unequal burden it placed on working-class Americans. Creedence Clearwater Revival was one of the defining bands of the late 1960s and early 1970s. Formed in California, Creedence blended rock, blues, and even a little country to create a sound that was unmistakably American. But while their music felt deeply rooted in Americana, the themes they tackled were often critical of the country's political landscape. At the centre of Creedence was lead vocalist and songwriter John Fogerty, who wrote most of their hits, including Fortunate Son. The band's straightforward, swampy rock sound made them incredibly popular, and by 1969 they were one of the top acts in the world. Fortunate Son became one of the clearest examples of how Creedence Clearwater Revival could capture the frustrations of an entire generation. This song in particular struck a chord with everyone who was strongly against the current military situation in the US. That is because Fortunate Son was written in the midst of the Vietnam War, a conflict that was already deeply unpopular with many Americans. By the late 1960s, protests against the war were spreading, especially among young people. A key point of tension was the draft, which required young men to serve in the military, whether they wanted to or not. But as the war dragged on, it became clear that not everyone had to fight. While working-class men were being sent to the front lines, wealthier families often found ways to avoid the draft, through student deferments or political connections. John Fogerty wrote Fortunate Son as a direct response to this unfairness. The song's release in 1969 came at a time when public anger toward the government and its handling of the war was reaching new heights. Fogerty wasn't shy about his views. He was frustrated that the children of the rich and powerful weren't the ones being sent off to fight and die in Vietnam. He wanted to point out the hypocrisy of leaders who waved the flag and spoke of patriotism, but didn't share in the sacrifices they demanded from others. Fortunate Son captured the anger of a generation that was fed up with being told to fight a war they didn't believe in. The song immediately conveys its message right from the start. Some folks are born made to wave the flag. Ooh, they're red, white and blue. Right from the start, Fogerty highlights the idea of privilege. These are the people who are quick to display their patriotism, but their version of serving the country is all about show, not sacrifice. The chorus drives the point home. It ain't me, it ain't me. I ain't no senator's son. Here, Fogerty contrasts the reality of who actually serves in war. He's saying that the people forced to fight aren't the sons of senators, millionaires or well-connected elites. Instead, it's the average person, the unfortunate sons, who end up shouldering the burden. In the second verse, Fogerty sings, "Some folks are born silver spoon in hand. Lord, don't they help themselves, y'all." This is a direct jab at the wealthy, who benefit from their privileged positions, even as others are left to deal with the consequences of their policies. The phrase silver spoon paints a clear picture of inherited wealth and status, while help themselves emphasises how these individuals protect their own interests, often at the expense of others. The second verse even highlights the disparity more by taking the allegations one step further than war participation. When the taxman comes to the door, Lord, the house looks like a rummage sale. Here he calls out the wealthy for using tricks to pay less taxes by selling off or hiding valuable assets, basically calling their house a garage sale. Overall, the lyrics are a powerful critique of the way privilege shields certain people from the harsh realities of life, particularly during times of war. Despite being a protest song, Fortunate Son became one of Creedence Clearwater Revival's biggest hits, reaching number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. Its popularity reflected a growing disillusionment with the Vietnam War and the political leadership of the time. However, the song's critical message was sometimes misunderstood. Over the years, it has been used in contexts that seem to ignore its anti-war sentiment, such as in pro-American rallies. Nonetheless, the song has remained an enduring anthem of protest. It resonated with the anti-war movement in the 60s and 70s, but its themes of class inequality and government hypocrisy have kept it relevant in the decades since. During a Veterans Day concert in 2014, the song was performed by Bruce Springsteen, Dave Grohl and Zac Brown. To conclude, I want to point out that the song is not necessarily an anti-military song, but rather an attack on the privileged. If a country is going to risk a war, everyone should share the prize equally. That's it for this video. Make sure to follow if you want more song breakdowns in your YouTube feed. And comment if you have other thoughts about the song.